Oh, let me.
The media coined a term for people like me, boomerangs, young adults launched by relieved parents with great fanfare into the world, finely tuned missiles, brimming with lofty dreams, only to return around mid flight, tail tucked between our legs, out of a job, out of money, and out of options. God, I hated being a cliche. That
It sounds
is
familiar.
Yep, that is the opening paragraph of Truth and Other Lies by Maggie Smith. Welcome, Maggie. It's so great to see you here at Blackbird Writers Presents again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yeah, we had technical problems the first time, but we're
right.
fine now.
We're doing great. So this book with the byline Three Women, Two Secrets, and One Lie. Truth and Other Lies is Maggie Smith's debut women's fiction novel featuring Megan Barnes, a young reporter eager to reboot her stalled career. It has themes about motherhood, career women, and friendship. So tell readers about your inspiration for this book.
Well, I decided that I wanted to try my hand at writing about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was still employed at that time. I had a full-time job as a owner of an art company that sold artwork throughout the country. So I was doing it on the weekends, and I started kind of going to conferences and taking workshops and doing roundtables. And at one of those in upstate Wisconsin, I was there for a week, and the instructor the first day gave a prompt that said, fill out this, complete this sentence. I could never write a book about. And I put mothers and daughters. And I thought, well, why did I say that? But I didn't have a very close relationship with my mother, who died about 10 years ago. We were always kind of at loggerheads from the very beginning, it seems like. I was always standing there and saying, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to make my bed. Whatever you do when you're five, to be a little pill. And I haven't had any biological children of my own. I have three stepchildren, and I've been married before, so I had stepchildren before too. So, but no children of my own. So I thought, well, I wouldn't really know much about writing about that. And she said, well, now let's spend 15 minutes writing about that thing you could never write about. And I went, should have seen that one coming. So I drew some circles. I think I actually have the page around here somewhere where I had woman, a young woman, mother, and mentor, and then I kind of drew arrows
Like
between
a Venn
those.
diagram or
Yeah,
something
like a
like
Venn diagram a little bit, or just arrows going back and forth. Because I think what happened with me when I got to be in my early 20s was just searching around for a role model, looking at my mother, and a lot of people have mothers that they look to and say, "Oh, I want to be just like her. She's, you know, loving, ambitious, raised a family, had a job, a career, etc." But I didn't feel that way about my mother, so I was looking to people that I was encountering in the workplace. And at that time, I was training to be a psychologist. And so I had mentors that were supervising my psychology training. And they were usually about 10 years older than me. So they were in their 30s, 40s, and so I was looking to them, I think, as a role model. So I thought that there are a lot of young women that might have experienced that. So I was looking to maybe write a book around that theme,
that.
and this is what
Well,
eventually came out.
well, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Yes. So there's three characters in this story. Megan Barnes is the protagonist, and she has a strained relationship with her mother. And with after several years of living in New York, she returns home. Describe what this is like for her.
Well, she doesn't. Her mother was very also overprotective. She would be what now we would call a helicopter parent, not letting her do things, and seemingly always wanting to keep her under her control. And so I think, in my mind, she fled to New York to kind of put some distance between her and her mother, and be independent. So that opening paragraph that you read is kind of her being, And I've had readers say, well, why couldn't she just stay in New York? And I think it was actually in the maybe the beginning of the second chapter. She says, well, I came home because this is where my best friend is, and I needed my best friend. Because she also was living with someone, and he had cheated on her. She found that out when she came. She was fired from her job and came home midday to find him with the next door neighbor. So she just wants to get away and feels like she wants to be with her best friend who is back in Chicago. So that really precipitates the move back. And then she finds out that her mother is running for political office, and not just the PTA. She's running for Congress, and her mother is a pro-life activist, I guess, and that's
Hmm.
why the Republican Party has asked her to run in this seat. And so Megan can't get a job on any newspaper that she applies for because it's only 3 months till the election. So they're saying, we can't really have the daughter of one of the candidates working for us. So come back after the election. So she's kind of floundering to find a job, and that's how she encounters the mentor. So she goes to a campus rally and meets the other third component of the three women. One is her mother, one is her, and one is a woman named Jocelyn Jones, who I compare to kind of a Diane Sawyer. I mean, this person is well known. She would walk down the street, people would know who she was. Not quite as famous as Oprah, but she's been a newscaster. She's been an anchor on a major television station. So she is very, very well known. And Megan kind of thinks, oh, maybe she could, if I met her, she could introduce me to people at the Tribune or the Sun Times or something. And through a kind of an incident, she does meet her and winds up going to work for her because Jocelyn has written a uh, biography or a memoir, and it's coming out, and she has a PR team. And so, as she says to Megan, you could do this. You call up sources, you write. That's what this is. Although it really is not is not the same, but Megan takes a job with her. So we've got the setup of the mother who she doesn't get along with for political reasons, not only abortion, but climate change and women's rights and Me Too and a lot of other things. And Jocelyn, who she really is saying, oh, I'd like to be like her. I'd like to be her
Right,
eventually in my life.
right. Um, so Helen Watkins, the mother who's running for Congress, her career depends a lot on news and social media,
Right.
um, and if she's to be elected. And so Megan is sort of walking on eggshells by not supporting her mom's
Right.
campaign. Your characters have so much writing on their clashing careers. Can you talk about the importance of creating like tension between the characters?
Okay. Yeah, I have. Here is my writing pad because I still use a mouse. It says tension on every page. It's got a little shark going after the guy.
Yep.
Uh, and yeah, I've set up a situation that was, I think, part of the challenge when you begin writing your debut. You haven't written before, also, so you're kind of teaching yourself to write as well as writing. And that was a lesson for me. Was there has to you have to create a situation that's a little bit larger than life, and so the stakes are higher. And so instead of just having a mother, I have a mother that's running for Congress. So that has all kinds of other issues. And instead of just having a mentor, like I might have, I have a world famous Pulitzer Prize winning journalist mentor. So
Right.
everybody is a little bit larger than life that makes them more interesting, and the conflicts more substantial, I guess. Um, and so it does lend itself to having a lot of different ways that you can throw a monkey wrench in between the relationships with these people. Um, I have a kind of a little subplot about the friend she came back here has her own problem that Megan is helping her with, that has to do with some of the issues being raised. So even the minor characters have some way to play into some of the themes that are going on. So it is important to kind of have something that the reader is being propelled forward through the story to see how it comes out. Even though this isn't a thriller or a mystery in that sense, there's a lot of secrets uh,
Right.
in it that people are withholding or not telling or keeping on purpose from people they love. Um, and so that creates tension as well.
Right. Yeah. There are so many ways to do it, you know. Um, and Jocelyn Jones is she takes Megan under her wing and like starts to sort of nurture her career.
Mm.
But she's an older journalist, so there's also this sort of generational
Right.
theme as well. She's looking to the younger Megan to maybe take on something of hers, or maybe bring life to her career in some ways. So, what is it that Megan has that Jocelyn really wants?
Well, this is a pattern that Jocelyn has done. She has taken young women under her wing and mentored them in effect. Um, it's her way of, you know, feeling with it, feeling in the groove of everything going on, although she doesn't really understand it. And she's also, I picture her, I have her about 65, 68, something like that. So she's kind of at the end of her career. And in fact, there's a scene in which she is talking to Megan about the differences between the generations. And she is saying that Megan is at 25 is all about wanting things. And I really channeled what it was like to be that when I was trying to write this part. Because I think it is. There's all kinds of things that you're making decisions about, and you don't quite realize how important those decisions are. And you don't really have a lot of information to be making those decisions, but they turn out to be pretty crucial,
Yeah.
like where you're going to live or who you're going to marry, or relationships, and whether you're going to have children, whether you're going to have a career, what career it is. Um, so even something as simple as getting her own apartment for the first time, because up till now she's lived with people, she's had roommates, and just the thrill that I can remember having at a little bit younger age than this, where I had my own place and I could go and I didn't have to check with anybody what the couch was going to look like. I could just buy whatever I wanted, and decorate it and paint it however I want. And that's just a big deal when you're have lived at home or have lived with parents. It's like all yours. I
Yeah.
was describing to my husband the other night, we were having spaghetti, and I said, "Oh, I used to do this on Saturday night when I didn't have a date. In fact, sometimes I turned down dates because I wanted to be able to watch." There was a lineup of All in the Family, MASH, Mary Tyler Moore, and Bob Newhart. That was all on Saturday night for those of us that didn't have dates. And I would fix spaghetti and I would sit down and think, I am so happy here in my apartment watching these very top drawer, TV shows. I'd much rather be doing this than going out on a date. So I was able to channel that. Whereas Jocelyn is in touch enough with her feelings to realize that at her age, it's all about losing. She's afraid in one of the plot driven things that happens about the quarter, uh, the end of the first act, as we think of it, with writers, is that a troll comes on Twitter, or a person comes on Twitter and begins accusing Jocelyn of unethical behavior. Eventually, it comes out that he or she is accusing them of plagiarism. And so she doesn't know how to fight against this. I mean, every time she turns on the computer, there's thousands more people jumping online and saying, "Oh, what's this about?" The tear down the heroes phenomenon that happens. And she
Right.
just wants it to stop, but she's not social media savvy enough to know what's even exactly happening. And she knows it's bad, but she doesn't know how to stop it. So she's turning to Megan to say, "Well, this is your generation. Go find this guy and shut him down."
Yeah.
And Megan's, it's not that easy to do that.
Right.
But so she's kind of looking to Megan. She enjoys being hero worshipped, And so she likes having somebody fawn over her, as maybe all of us do. And she doesn't have children of her own, so probably there's a little bit of mothering going on here as well. And and they do have a lot in common, Jocelyn and Megan. They feel the same about a lot of things. And so she enjoys kind of having somebody that's looking up to her and treating her like she's special. Who wouldn't want that? And and Megan is getting something out of the relationship too, because there's a whole chapter in which they go to a women's conference, and she's kind of saying, "Oh yes, I'm here with Jocelyn Jones," so she's getting some brownie points and people paying attention to her because of who she knows and is there
Right.
with. So
Yeah. And you brought up the social media thing, which I think, which I really wanted to talk about today, because in this book you use social media as a weapon, and it happens all the time now on Twitter and other, social media platforms where there's hate speech or something that just triggers a firestorm of comments, and
you never know.
right. Um,
And I do that myself. I mean, I sometimes fall for that little clickbait, what's happening with this person, and it many times turns out to be just nothing, but I can fall for that too.
right.
I
Yeah.
mean, I interrupted you, but
No, that's okay. Um, you're supposed to be talking.
okay.
um, and so, is there a reason why you chose social media as the way to deliver the threat? Is it because it's, so part of our lives these days?
Well, and also as the story evolves and we meet the person who is doing this, they say, I tried to contact you initially through your publisher and nobody responded to me. So I think sometimes it's a way for people that feel like they have no power to have power,
Mhm.
because all things are kind of equal. All tweets are equal. It can be something that is, unless you get thrown off the platform like sometimes people do, but otherwise, you can say what you want. And I'm just as good as the next person in terms of expressing my opinion. So it is a way to give power to people that don't always have power. And in that case, it can be for good, or that's a positive thing. Um, but I guess there's really no other way. And I guess I'm also very aware of social media since I've been in the writing community much more than I was when I was running a company. I wasn't on Instagram. I think I had a Facebook account. I did not have a Twitter account. And Twitter does seem like the place that more of this kind of stuff goes on than
Mhm.
the other two or three platforms. So I guess I was just pointing that out as how else could somebody get to Jocelyn in a way that would make a difference?
Yeah.
Social
Well, and
media.
that also brings up a good point to keep your books current, um, and use the tools that are available, right?
Right,
Yeah. I wanted to ask one of the questions that's at the back of the book. You have a list of book club questions.
right.
And one of those was, what have we gained and lost with the use of social media? And as someone with a strong social media presence, I was dying to hear your answer.
Well, I wasn't always like that. I mean, I started my Instagram like 3 years ago, I think. Um, I really found it a very positive thing. I enjoy social media, and of course, we're also talking. We've just come through, or still in the middle of, I guess, the whole COVID pandemic, and that was a godsend to social media during that time for people not feeling as isolated as they might have otherwise, and able to reach out to people. But even just in terms of even what there isn't COVID, you can have friends from all over the world. I mean, one of the things I do in my literary citizenship, I guess, is I'm a podcast host, and I talk to people primarily in the United States, but I have talked to people in Vietnam and New Zealand and Australia and Africa, and done podcasts with them, just like we're doing. It doesn't take anything at all to do it, and so it's really, again, a place where everyone can be more equal. They can, as long as they have an internet connection, they can be on podcasts. They can listen to podcasts. They can take classes for free a lot of times online. So I really think there's a lot of positive things that social media brings to our lives, even when there's not a pandemic. And obviously it was the last 2 years a real godsend for writers and readers to be able to make contact in that way. So I don't want to bash social media. I think it's a great medium, and I'm on it every day. I
Yeah.
I post pretty much every day on Instagram.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
More, of course, when my book was coming out, but I do try and shout out about other authors as well.
Yeah. And for I hear this all the time that authors are always struggling to, with, oh my goodness, I have to be on social media and I don't know what to post and I don't know how often to post or what forums I should be on. Um, can you just, give some ideas for authors who are struggling with how to use social media?
Sure. And I think they do that on websites too. They'll say, I don't know what to put on my website. I don't know what to put in my newsletter.
Right.
Um, I think generally I have this. I had this in a talk, and now I'll see if I can remember it. I try and post again. I post on Instagram primarily because I like visual stuff, and I try and either have something that entertains them, like a joke, or an interesting photo. I mean, I posted something about stairs that were piano keys, painted like piano keys recently. So just amusing things, entertaining things, things pets do, stuff like that. Um, Educate and inform,
Sounds
and
like in other words, be yourself.
be yourself. I don't always post about books, but primarily I post about books. But I post about books I'm interested in. Not all books interest me. I'll say what I'm reading, so I do a little book recommendations. I also really, again, back to the visual, I enjoy book covers, and I enjoy looking at the trends in book covers. So I post about book cover trends that I see, and we'll contrast 4 different books that seem like they look very similar, and are following a trend. And so it's just a mix of things, and that way it's fun for me because I'm doing things that I enjoy sharing with people, so it doesn't seem like work. If it seems like work, then that is not the point of it. I
Right.
mean, people will do it because they want to publicize their book, but those are the people that don't come across as very authentic,
Yeah.
because it's just buy my book, and then they go away when their book is launched. It's like, well,
Well,
okay.
and I think that's what one thing that's it's important to share a little bit of about the things that you enjoy, so that readers have an idea, oh, who is this author? Because people want to know who you are,
Mhm,
and they want to know, what kind of things, float your boat or whatever, and what kind of things you might be writing about next.
mhm.
So, um,
And that's also a way to feel closer to someone when you're not in the same city that they are. You're probably never going to meet them in person. But if they have a sheltie and you have a sheltie, or we foster rescue dogs, so I'll talk about that, or they went to the Van Gogh immersive exhibit and I did too. And so it's a way to just have something in common with a reader or another writer, or just anybody that's on social media.
yeah,
Um, Making
yeah,
friends. How do you make friends when you're an adult? Common interests, common activities. That's what it's all about.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today, Maggie. And Maggie is also, I forgot to introduce you as the podcast host for Hear Us Roar, which is
Right.
for debut authors in the women's fiction world. And tell tell readers and viewers where they can find you.
Well, as I described, I'm pretty active on Instagram, and I'm there as the um, tagline, I guess, or username, Maggie Smith Writes, WRITES. And then my website is a little bit different, maggiesmithwriter.com. So either one of those places. And I blog at Rocky Mountain Fiction Writers Association. So if you're in Colorado primarily, but people belong from all over. And I usually put those blogs on my website as well. I have a newsletter that you can sign up on at my website. And I do have places I encourage people. I'm trying to do more and more book clubs and Zoom in. That's another advantage of the whole internet thing, that you can have authors come. And so I have book club discussions, as you mentioned, questions in the back of my book. And then I have a section on my website for book clubs to contact me about a possible Zoom in appearance. So any of those places. Glad to make new friends.
Yeah. And well, thank you so much for joining me today. And you can check out Maggie's website and check out blackbirdwriters.com for more interviews. And I hope to see you soon.